Welcome to Days Are Getting Better Dialogue. I am just so excited for the conversation that we're about to have with my good friend who's been a friend for 20 years, a long time. And Gijs Jansen, who is probably the best known author and entrepreneur and trainer and app developer in the Netherlands. And I'm really, really pleased to be able to have this conversation because, as you'll see, we're working together to try to carry some of the wonderful things that he's done into the world. So welcome, Gijs. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, so looking forward to this moment where we can finally show the world what we've been doing for the last year, more than a year.
Yeah, golly, it's been a long time, hasn't it been? And going back even before that, and in other ways that we've been supporting each other's work, it's probably worth just a short little description of how we even met and how long we've been working in parallel. You want to tell that story?
Well, I had a teacher, Hubert and Mij, and I was a very scared student. I had a panic disorder, just like you had in your life, and social phobia, like through the roof, and all the traditional. That was 25 years ago, so that was DSM and cognitive therapy, and you had to rethink your thoughts, and you had to like do like calming exercises and everything, and then the panic got even bigger. And you were actually the first one that said it's okay that it's not okay, and that was mind-blowing for me at that moment, because I never heard of things like acceptance, that you could have fear and just do it anyway. So, and that made me practice ACT. I'm really a practice what you preach kind of guy, I think, and that's how we came into contact. It was almost 20. We've known each other for almost 25 years now.
Wow.
So yeah, we've got our anniversary coming up. So and then, well, ACT saved my life. That's the true story. And then I thought, well, if I can do it, then anybody can do it. And yeah, so that's how it came to life with me. And I've been writing books ever since, and we've been in contact ever since. And ACT is, yeah, you became famous and hang out with movie stars and
well, you may, I don't, but it's been an amazing ride. It really has. You know, part of that history, of course, this is, I think, the personal side, because you know, ACT saved my life too. And I practice ACT methods every single day. I'm still not good at it. As I always say, ask my wife. But I'm working on it. And I know it's important, and I'm getting better. I can see it. So we're on a journey together just in that way. But also, you mentioned Hubert, and I, you know, Hubert has kind of an old behavior analyst, you know, and pretty tough-minded guy, but also very, very broad in his thinking, flexible in his thinking, and has been important there in terms of an early interest in RFT and an early interest in clinical behavior analysis, and you know, that combination of hard and soft, you know,
right.
I think it's been helpful for the community, because we can, you know, put things that just normal folks who don't have to be behavior type people can understand. And so it's kind of fun in that way, that underneath, you know, you have that good, solid training. And here we are trying to do something that is even more forward-looking and open and accessible, and something that will be, I hope, useful to thousands of people around the world that don't understand the geek science under it, but they sure do know what it means to be suffering, and they're looking for somebody to be of use to them. So
yeah, that's what I love about ACT, that it's having so much fun in doing it, but scientifically it's so grounded, it's so solid, that you can really build on that. So
Yeah, and I love the fact that you actually do use the word fun a lot. I mean, maybe I don't do it enough. You know, I often talk about values-based and all that, but you know, I think really in a deep way, the ACT journey is about uh, you know, being able to live a life that's full of joy and connection and relationship and community and just flat out fun. You know, we still have
Actually,
that a little bit, and you know, like the Follies at the ACBS and so
yeah,
forth. We've kept our eye on that. That it's important to be able to sing and dance and have fun.
you actually taught me that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, your words were something like, okay, I don't care about if someone comes into therapy with an alcohol problem. I want to know what really in the core what your values are and how you want to live them, what makes your life fun, what makes your life exciting, and that's what I want to know. The
Yeah.
substances interfere with that, fine, let's work on that. But it's the values of people that we're really interested. I'm not interested in complaints, and I'm not interested in problems. I'm interested in what you want to have your life be about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I do think actually values pursued the way we want them to do it, you know, pursued passionately, but in a way held lightly, is fun is a pretty good close word. Vitality sometimes is used, but it's not this heavy thing of I have to have values. Oh my God. You know, that's something more like judgment. That's something more like, you
Yeah.
know, wagging finger of shame and blame, masquerading as values.
Well, I think if you're having fun in what you do, you're more likely to take like difficult thoughts, feelings, circumstances for granted because you're having fun anyway.
Yeah. Well,
So
and one kind of fun you and I have been having is working on what we're going to talk about now, which is for years you have had probably one of the best-selling and most important ACT apps in the world, almost unknown to the world because it's only available in Dutch. But thousands of people use it,
yeah.
and thousands of people benefit from it. And we are going to put a version expanded a bit in terms of the elements and the vision out to a process-based approach that even goes beyond the boundaries of traditional ACT. And we're going to try to put it into the world initially in the English-speaking world. We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
But say just a little bit about how you got into doing the app, and then maybe we can talk about, you know, what that suggests in terms of how clinicians may be able to use it in their practice, what kind of practice it sustains, and so forth. But
Yeah.
just tell a little quick story of what is called ACT Guide in
Yeah.
the Netherlands.
Well, it actually started like ACT started with me. Like I wanted to have an app for myself, and together with a friend of mine, Barry Kicken, you know him, we thought, well, maybe we could make something for ourselves as therapists. So it wasn't meant to be as big as it is now, but I thought we really should have something in between therapy and exercises or reading a self-help book. I mean, modern things like little videos really motivate people, and they can demotivate people as well. But with the new modern technology and all the possibilities that came from that, Corona also helped, because for the development was shit to have Corona, but for the development it was a huge impulse, because then everybody went online, and we had to find a way to help people not only in therapy but also outside therapy. And what I stumbled upon a lot is that when you give people like big homework exercises, they don't do it.
Yeah.
But if you give them like a very inspirational little video of a minute or a minute and a half, then the connection between that and it works. So that's what we discovered. We learned a lot, and with all those lessons, yeah, after a couple of years, I talked to you about it, and then you said, well, maybe we should do this together, and said yes, and here we are. So
Yeah, let me just say, you know, I think when people see this, when they actually use it, they're going to be gobsmacked. They're just going to go, oh my goodness. Because the thing that really hit me hard wasn't the idea of little kernels that alone, you know, it wasn't just that you could send something to your clients, but what you have is this very, very slick, very professional way of delivering things that land like personal notes from somebody who really cares about you, you know, that,
yeah,
you know, your therapist thought, hey, you know, this YouTube link, this might really be important. This might be helpful, you know, where there's a sense of extending the sessions that we have, the connections that we have out into the client's world, and the back and forth between the client being so professional and slick and organic, and just in terms of the programming. I've looked at a lot of apps, and there are one-way street type apps out there, you know, or even almost not one way. It's like, here's the app, use it.
yeah,
The dirty secret of that is people stop using it.
yeah,
Because they feel like they're out on their own.
yeah,
Feel like they're on their own, and they really don't know what to do. But here you can like tailor to entire groups of clients or just to one client. Here's something you can put into a program so it's sequenced, you know, this week this week that.
yeah.
And even some of the things that are coming now with being able to link it to the processes that the person shows within their own life. So we'll talk about that a little later. But before we get into just even the details of what people may guess from your shirt, will be called PsychFlex.
Yes.
I think they do need, maybe just get a little bit of feel for that part of it. Like, and how did you come to do that? Because it's a different vision. I mean, you ended up with an app that has a different vision than almost anything out there.
Yeah, and I think it's because, and I know we talked a lot about this, but it for me it had to be real and it had to be personal. So I wanted to make all the animations myself, so I did that. And I know they're not perfect. I know we could have a company make them for like $6,000 a minute, but I wanted to do it myself, because then people really feel, when people read my self-help books, they always say to me, it feels like you're sitting next to me. Like you really mean it, what you're saying. It's personal for me now. So it feels like you're a friend of mine. And I wanted to have that connection between the professional and the client as well. So it had to be a connection. That was the basis of the whole app. And they had to have an interface. Without an interface, you would have a website with content, which you can easily put on an app, and then you have an app. Yeah, okay, wow. But we really needed that personal connection, and I think that's what I love about what we do together, is that we really adopted that. And I also was raised 25 years ago by you, so I'm really an open source guy, and it takes a lot of money to make this app. So we needed some sort of a money model. But what I'm really proud of is that I insisted on that every client gets the app for free. So as a professional, you pay a fee, a yearly or monthly fee, but then you can add clients like indefinitely. So if you have 1,000 clients, they can all get the app for free. They can all get all the content for free. So and that's really, is that why you're so excited about this as well? What's the main thing you're enthusiastic about when it comes to this project?
You know, I think this idea, you said a couple things there that are really important. This idea that we have an app that amplifies communication. And there's a communication between, for example, you and I and others who will be coming in, we will talk about that a little later, and professionals around the world. And we're in a communication with them.
Yeah.
And the communication there is meant to empower the communication between those individual practitioners and their clients. And so if people were to watch Gijs and I work together, I mean, there's a lot of laughter and fun and try this and try that, and we go back and forth. And so, I'm doing a lot of voiceovers and so forth. People will recognize that, but it's really not me over here doing it. A lot of these things are your thinking with my voiceover. There's some of my original thinking. So people can trust that, this is the best that we know how to do, and not just us, but we're bringing in others. There will be some content providers on the app, names people will recognize, who will be building it out as we almost expand the platform. But and some of that will be even at release. We're not ready to name those names or talk about that in any detail, but that'll happen. But I think the thing that excites me most is this is a different vision. I've tried to do apps. I've had big grants, and I know how expensive they are, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you even to get in the world of something that people would use. And they were the best content I could think of. But they ended up being kind of feeling like, why don't you just have a self-help book? I mean, you could do the thing buy it for $15 or something. Or why don't you just have a website? Or why don't you just put things up on YouTube? Or what, it kind of felt like, boy, this is a lot of effort. Plus, my experience has been that this is maybe not central. I'm kind of whining a little bit, but the app world changes so fast that if you don't have a financial model, within months, things can be now no longer even usable. I went through that, and all of a sudden, it turned out that, some common ways of doing things, Acrobat's method of putting things out there, Flash collapsed almost, and people didn't want to distribute Flash programs. And so I've been through that nightmare part, but so we've been able, I think, to get to a point where we have a really slick, really professional app that lands in a very personal way. Doesn't feel slick, doesn't feel like you're being talked down to or talked to from up here. It's a genuine communication, and it comes out of, I think, people will feel it. It comes out of yours and my genuine communication. And so people will be coming in almost as a member of a community. And I expect that we will be listening as well, as much as speaking, because we really need to know, what do people need? What can serve the practitioners? But then in a way that fosters this relationship. And once that's there, people don't stop using the app. It would be like not answering the phone if your therapist called you. I mean, that wouldn't happen that often. And if it is happening a lot, people need to look at why. So I think we've solved that problem of the stickiness of apps, in the sense of, once people settle into a mode of practice where part of their world is to extend, kind of supporting the world of the client on all those hours when they're not seeing you. Not just by, here's the homework, come back and we'll check, but more like in a very manageable but organic way. I think people will be really pleased at what that does to their practice.
I think it's going to relieve clients, but it's going to relieve professionals as well, because you're kind of a co-therapist now with all the things all the videos we made, like diffusion. If you want to know what diffusion is, Steve's got a video where he explains diffusion. So if you don't want to do it, or you forgot to do it, or you want to have a group therapy where you want to explain diffusion before you get into it, just send the video, and then they'll get the didactic stuff you can explain. And people come in now in therapy and they already know what diffusion is, and they did the milk exercises, and then the session starts. So it really heightens the level of the therapy. And I went from 8 to 12 sessions to 3 to 5 sessions with this app. So I'm gonna sound like a bad car salesman, but I use it myself. a lot. And yeah, so it's less sessions and people are more self-sufficient as well. I don't have hard data yet, but it has to be, because people get less dependent of therapy. And what we've learned from therapists as well is that they love to use it because it's like 2 clicks and they send the homework, and the homework really works, and then clients get back, and then yeah, so spiraling up. So I think that's really cool.
Well, and I know you have some practitioners there in the Netherlands who've changed their practice in ways where, you know, if you heard, oh my goodness, so we had fewer sessions, I'm going to have fewer clients, I'm going to not make the money I was making or whatever. Yeah. And your ability to help a larger number of people goes up, because this is not a burdensome addition to a practice. It's an empowering addition. And I know there are some people who now carry a number of clients where they help them largely through the app, including over time. So they have a portion of their practice where the app is even a focus for particular people where that's what's needed. And, you know, if left to their own devices, I think many people would drop the ball. I mean, in the sense of having a supportive engagement kind of relationship where these things can continue. I mean, I don't know about you. I know you're a very physical guy, and you do a lot of things in the gym and stuff. And I find if I don't have a coach or a class or something who I'm accountable to, guess what? I'm cutting the gym session way more than I should. It's almost like that, you know, that we'd be able to make it to have a form of practice that has an expanded vision, because, you know, after these years of COVID, everybody knows it's not 1 out of 5 people, it's 5 out of 5 people who need support. You know, but we can't possibly do it inside the same exact model. We're going to have to play around with different models. And so this one fits right into a traditional model, but it also opens up to the possibility of some pretty different ways of being part of many people's lives.
So Steve, how do you see the role of the therapist in this context?
Well, there's a thing. I mean, I've always thought, I'll answer that in an indirect way, and then I'll come back and answer it directly. Here are the 2 things I always thought we have an obligation. This is a consumer information and as ethical, scientific, professional responsibility to give to people. Evidence-based methods, and we know why they work. Now, the way that we've been trying to do that is one size fits all. Here's the protocol, and even here's the disorder, usually driven the idea that it's a latent disease. We never find them, still latent, you know, all those years of, you know, syndromal diagnosis, not a single one turned into a psychiatric disease. So we've been living inside this kind of normative, categorical, one size fits all vision. And I understand the heart of that, because that's that first thing. Really, first, let's give things to people where we have good reasons to believe this is going to be helpful. But then there's the other thing of, and we know why it works. And then if you take that seriously, we know why it's likely to work for you. Every clinician, I think, is interested in personalized treatment. And they haven't been given the methods to do that, either in terms of the front end, what are the real focal processes that you want to look at, or on the output and or intervention end, one of the kernels that might move those processes, and instead of simply the 400-page book that has session 1, session 2, session 3. Nobody likes to practice that way. Well, sometimes beginners do because they feel supported and they're afraid. But what I think, coming back to kind of what it opens up, is it opens up the possibility for the first time of really having the tools to have a personalized practice that is based on biopsychosocial processes and kernels of intervention that are personally fitted to the needs and goals of the individual you're working with. And this app, especially when it's combined with more sensitivity to processes of change within the person over time, when I do a workshop on ACT, I'm always focusing on that. You and I are going to do a workshop here coming up and at the World Conference in Cyprus. And we're going to be looking at that. I think actually Joe Sorochi might be able to join in by Zoom as well. I'm working on that.
Nice.
I mentioned that. But yeah, I just found
Nice.
out that he may be able to come in and help us out a little bit. But anyway, we're, process-based ACT to me is just a good ACT. But how could you have process-based ACT if you don't have kernels? Because it depends on the process. Some people come in and, they need a little bit of values work, but not much. But boy, do they need some work on cognitive flexibility and diffusion.
Yeah.
It's huge. It has to be the major focus. Well, I think we're headed into kind of a mode of practice where your job as a practitioner is to personalize the science in such a way that this client gets what they need right now for the goal that they have.
Right.
And that turns out to be for reasons we can get into, and people who follow my website and so forth and my work know how many places this then goes. That is a very
you're also saying we actually need the technology to do that, right?
It has to be done technologically. It can't be an art.
Yeah.
Look, I'll give you an example. Functional analysis. You were raised by Hubert, who'd be talking about functional analysis. Of course he would. But it's more of an art than a science. You have your principles and you have the art of figuring out how they apply to human complexity.
Sure.
That's not good enough.
Yeah.
That's just not good enough. And for it to go beyond an art, we need technology on the assessment side, but also on the intervention side. And one of the really exciting things about the app that we're doing is we're going to be able to learn more and more what are the kernels of classical ACT, but expanded by a process-based focus, even including some elements that people wouldn't think of as ACT. How can we use all of those things that we have evidence out there are helpful to help with this person? And, having a person having us sort of on the shoulder there as allies.
Yeah.
Both assessment and intervention, saying, let's work together to help this person. That is something that only technology can allow. And, having a great supervisor and all that, that's great. Not everybody does. Not everybody has that experience. Plus, it's not good enough to have it just be an art. The giants of the field who originated functional analysis, some of them were just awesome at it. But our principles keep moving, and most of us are not. Those. I'll mention a name. Many people. He's dead long since. But Don Baer was one of my heroes. He was an early behavior analytic developmental person who was awesome in terms of thinking functionally. And when I would listen to him or watch him work, he was always right on. I'll never be a Don Baer. That's not going to happen. But can I actually have some of those sensitivities put into my world in such a way that both on assessment and intervention, I'm getting that? Yes. And can we do better and better as we take what will come out of this app to learn how to do it better? Yeah, that's an awesome vision.
I think that's the most exciting part for me, that it's continuing development. So it's just the start now. And if it's no good, we're going to try again, and we're just going to redo it. And we have the flat content, right? So we already have content for pain, for chronic pain, or for anxiety, for depression, for all the things we can use in ACT will be on the app. Also the classics, like the bus metaphor and everything. But there's something a little more exciting underneath that, right? Should we talk about that? Because you mentioned Joe.
Yeah, we have commitments. Let's see if let me just say, we have commitments even for people outside the community who are just monsters out there. I'll mention the name of Stefan Hoffman, for example, because people know the process-based. Well, that's over my shoulder. Process-based therapy.
Oh, my shoulder too.
Yeah, there we go. there's Stefan Hoffman. What the heck is he doing there? He's never even done an ACT workshop. Yeah, but he is a functional thinker, and he's focused on these biopsychosocial processes of change. He's done work on acceptance, but he's also done work on reappraisal, let's say. But reappraisal has changed. It isn't
Yeah.
classical detect, challenge, dispute, and change. That's not how people do it now. It's
No.
something much more like, how do we get cognitive flexibility in the room so that you can have many different thoughts and you can generate some additional ones if you can't see any way forward, and you take the ones that are useful and you leave the rest. Boy, that's in classical ACT. We didn't call it reappraisal because we were trying to avoid where it sometimes goes, which is don't think that, think this. As soon as you're trying to subtract thoughts, you're focused on them. When you focus on them, you make them more important. You make it easier, more easily thought of. Their frequency goes up, not down. Next thing you're fighting, all the things. It's not intentional. It's not what cognitive therapists meant to do. The first name for ACT was comprehensive distancing, as you know.
Right. I remember.
Beck had the distancing, right? You back up and notice your thoughts so that you can challenge and change them. Well, how about so that you can take what's useful and leave the rest? And if you need to generate some additional ones, let's work on that too. And that's in classical ACT. Tell me your story. Now tell it again using all the facts and emotions, but in a different way. Now write it again using all the facts and emotions, but in a different way. That's cognitive flexibility. So our vision here is, why should we live inside a little box that says, if it ain't an ACT brand and invented here, I can't use it as an ACT therapist? No, if you're a process-oriented therapist, you can use anything as long as these two requirements, and I'll make three now. I have good reason to believe it'll work. I know why it works. And the third one, I know it applies to you. That requires technology, and that's a really different future that we put ourselves on when we start down this road. I think this app will make the process-based vision that's in that book real. People will really see, oh, here's how I can actually do that. And that's pretty exciting.
What would you say to a therapist who now knows about AI and everything that's coming in this world, who's afraid that he's going to be obsolete when it comes to therapy with all the things we're doing?
Well, how can we be made obsolete if our impact, scope of practice, the range of things that we're useful to, are expanded to include not just the people who have a classical diagnosis, not just the people who have the money to seek us out. In the US of A, we have this problem because our insurance systems and so forth are so broken. Many high-level practitioners just don't want to mess with it anymore. So they say, no, okay, I'm just doing fee for service. Yeah, but that means, what about people who can't afford you? And so, I think the expansion of practice that comes with a personalized, process-focused vision is so large that you go from a place where 1 out of 5 people have a disorder, but only a fraction get any kind of treatment, and if only a fraction of a fraction get evidence-based treatment, and only a fraction of a fraction can afford it, to a thing where we're now playing with processes that are useful and methods that can be applied to everyone. If you're working really hard on your relationship or running your business or dealing with your weight or exercise program, or you have a challenge of a cancer diagnosis, or, how many places, but I think many of us end up with practices that are only defined by a narrow range of DSM disorders, for example. It's fine if you want to practice that way, but if you're just doing it because it's a way of getting known and so forth, I don't know. If you're from an ACT point of view, maybe you want to really think about an expanded range based on your interest as a clinician. What do you really want to be working with and focusing on? I have not seen any indication yet that we're at any danger of working our way out of a job. number one, but number two, to the degree that we can, shouldn't we be singing hallelujah?
Right.
In terms of what actually brought us into the field?
Sure. Yeah.
If we could actually figure out a way to, but that future is definitely not anytime in the lifetimes of the individuals who are hearing this. That's just not going to happen.
Well, I always say people can rest assured that life will stay painful and difficult. So there's going to be new challenges anyway. Yeah, we're not going to have the whole like the thing solved, and I think yeah, it becomes more accessible, right? Because you can do therapy in less sessions. But what I really love about the process-based therapy book and the whole vision of it is that it's everybody's open to play. If you're a cognitive therapist, fine, just put in the processes and let me see what you're doing, answer those 3 questions, and then you can play. So exactly. You really build a bridge there.
Absolutely. You're a humanist, existentialist, system post, a psychodynamic person. And, you know, out of the gate, the app will be most familiar and comfortable for ACT process-based folks. But CBT more generally, yes. And what's coming, and because the app itself is so modifiable, people can add their own elements that they want to share. And the other one that we haven't talked about yet, and we won't hear in this talk, but the assessment pieces can also be personalized in such a way that will fit in. And so, you know, I think we're headed towards a place where everybody gets to play, but also we have a ground of communication between all of these separate little islands or fortresses or whatever that that people have built, which are not really about what's good for the people that we serve. It's really about how we, you know, brand ourselves and so forth. And that shouldn't be the major thing. If you go to a good physician, you probably don't have a brand that defines that, other than they're in an area that is of use. One of the things I've noticed with process-based work also on this issue of will your practice shrivel if you get more efficient? Most people build their practices based on word of mouth referrals. Most people aren't out there with billboard advertising,
right,
or anything else like that. I mean, yeah, they might have some things that they put up, but it's mostly word of mouth. And if you have the kind of process-based practice, there's a whole lot of people out there who know the people you've moved, who will come to you for help. And I'm sure people have noticed that. I bet you've noticed that with people who use the app.
We've got so much feedback from therapists who say, okay, so I have half of the sessions now, but I tripled my clients. So, because people talk, and and I mean, if we can really make ourselves obsolete, I mean, you're 74, that's maybe maybe a nice 75th anniversary to say, well, I'm obsolete now. So I can understand the young people who really try, but I would always say, don't be afraid, because life's going to give new challenges and people are going to need help. And if this can really help you as a professional as well. It can relieve you from time. It can relieve you from the things you don't want to do in therapy. And maybe a mindfulness exercise of 30 minutes, you can just send it to them. So maybe a good thing to talk about a little, Steve, is because it's a little vague maybe about what is the app and what have we made in the last year, and do you want to talk about that, or should I? Or
why don't you? Because some of the things are built right on that guy.
So we're going to have programs like you said, and we're going to have names there we cannot name yet, but they're going to be specialized programs. I made a program myself, and I hope other people are coming in and making programs for children or adolescents or for chronic pain, and So then you can just send it, and we have actually, the app is really simple. You have 3 buttons, you can send it, you can look at it, and you can put it in favorite. And if you go to programs, you have complete programs, you can send sessions with 8-9 exercises. And again, it's all very small. So it's all like little things you need to, like a video of your TED talk, by the way, for example, or just 3-4 minutes max. And lots of time it's like a minute and a half. And then we have the list of exercises in the playground. We call it the playground because we like to play and have fun. And there you have all the exercises, and you have and we also have an e-learning part, which probably this podcast is going to be on, and where you're really excited about that, right? Because that's where you want to expand the things for professionals. So you have an educational part for you as a professional as well. And then you have the interface with clients. You can, when you have one license, you can just put in clients like indefinitely, and they all get the app for free. You can send them content. You can make groups of clients. If you have group therapy, you can send content to groups. And you can probably, as we speak, it's finalized now. You can upload your own content as well. So we already have about 80-90 exercises on the app, and it's going to be more every week. And then when you want something from voice dialogue you have on your computer, you can upload it, and you can just use that as well. So I think that's
well, that's... and you know, on that issue of we're going to continuing to add, you know, many people watching this probably know you mentioned my age. Thank you very much. It's all good. I'm teasing you. But I am retiring here in 6 weeks. By the time people see this, I'm very likely it's a smaller number, or even this in the past. But what I'm clearing my deck to do, especially, is to focus, in addition to a couple books I'm working on, is to focus on this app and the case conceptualization app that we're also working on. But the why? Because I just think I can do more good to more people by supporting the community in ways that really get into that personal communication and in these small bits. And so this is going, when people come in, if they decide to buy essentially a license for a year, if they pay for it by month or overall, but that's still the vision, we have a year. And our idea is that we'll have a year to prove ourselves. And what you will have, if you decide to become, I think we're actually going to call them charter members or something like that, and you have special things that you get if you decide to do it, because you will be on a journey with us of what do you need and how did this land, and also just, you know, having the faith in us that we are going to deliver something that's really, really cool. You'll be able to sample it, so you don't have to be, it's not blind faith. You'll be able to have the app free to use before you can get your money back if you decide it's no good. But over then that year, regularly, you know, we will be coming out with, here's a new exercise, and here's a new program, and here's a new a bit of free e-learning, or a new course that you could take, or whatever the thing may be. It's like boom, 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 because we're on a journey together. And I think people will be pretty impressed as soon as they start using it with clients and looking at what's already there. That this is immediately useful. But also when you see what we're doing, and not just that, the names that you'll see when you go into the programs that are involving people in the ag community and outside who are going to be adding things, you know, they won't have everything there. They will start out of the gate slow, but then over that year, it's going to happen. So we're going to be on a journey together. And if people are willing to do it, our promise is that we're going to give it our dang best to be really useful to you and to your clients. Yeah.
Yeah, that I cleared my schedule as well. So this is this is an ongoing thing. And what I love about it is that we really want to have community here. So we
Yes.
really want to have the people who come in can go to webinars, can talk to us. Can you put that diffusion exercise on because I miss it, because I want to use it? Fine, we'll do that. We're going to listen to the data as well, I think. Well, that's another story, but I'm so excited to talk about that in the next podcast, because there's even a bigger storm coming if you think this is big.
There really is. This is
Yeah.
just the nose under the tent, and I will say something. People know I sometimes say extreme things, but we are out to change the world of psychology in a very fundamental way. And that conversation will dribble out a little with some additional things when it's all put together.
Yeah.
Because how to do those three things has not been being thought about in a proper way. And because of it, the third one is the weakest of all. That, we know something about what works. It's a little bit about why, but we don't know very much yet about how to personalize it. And we are determined to solve that problem in a way that's very, very different for the field, very tight scientifically, but very practically, clinically. And, that sense that clinicians often have, that there's something wrong. The science doesn't seem to really speak to the kind of clients I see, or it doesn't feel like I really am getting what I need from this one size fits all protocols for syndromes, vision, etc. To me, the clinicians are absolutely right, and it's the scientists who are absolutely wrong. And I think, make that case almost mathematically. Well, in fact, not even almost, mathematically, statistically, plus just conceptually. And so we're on a journey where every voice matters and nobody's an error term. And that has not been the story of psychology, unfortunately, in most areas. And we're gonna see if we can solve that. Well, maybe that I have a sense we've kind of covered enough of the territory for where we are, but the full story has not been told. And we will continue to tell that story before the app is released. But I want to share once again two things. One is my appreciation for you, Gijs, and all that you've done and what you've brought to the work, and to just the fun that we've had together. But also I wanted to say to everybody listening that this is something I've been focusing on now for years, but find in this specific way for more than a year. And it's the single most important, exciting thing that I'm doing, because I think that there really is a chance here to make your practice more fun, more effective, more efficient, more useful to people. And when you see where it's going, for us to maybe change the cultural conversation about those three things of evidence-based, what the processes are, but that last one that's most difficult, getting people exactly what they need. That is worth our attention. And I do, I'm very thankful to you that you stepped forward with, hey, Steve, look at this app I did. But I'm saying to the audience directly, this is worth your attention. I hope you're worth you would gamble that I'm telling it to you straight, and that it's worth a try. And if you find immediately, no, this is not for me, it's easy to get out with no questions asked. But if you give it a try, it may really be as we hope it will be. Gijs, do you have any concluding words to the?
Well, thank you for the kind words. I hope it's just like a boomerang you threw away and now it's hitting your face. So it's just what you did in a positive sense, because I remember you saying like a year ago, I kind of expected this to happen somehow, that you would come back some way, because 25 years ago you saw me and how I was struggling and how difficult it was, and you really lifted me up. So yeah, that's what you can do, that's what ACT can do, and I'm just so I'm just so grateful all the time that I found ACT, and I already, for me it's the journey. So we had so much fun in doing this, and what I really hope is that people will notice that. If you notice that, if you can see how much fun we had, and if you can feel that, then it's probably good. Then it's probably good, and the technology's there. That's good. I know, but for me, it's like it has to be genuine. It has to be fun. It has to be thought provoking, grounded, real. Like you feel like also with the diagnostic thing we're creating, like it has to speak to the professional as well. You as a professional have to feel like, okay, this is something I can stand behind myself, not like the DSM, or this is something, you know, I feel myself as well with this client, and I feel this is real. And if I feel this is real, I can really talk about it like it's real with my clients. So
Yeah.
I hope it really fits what people think and feel about ACT, process-based therapy, and about how they want to treat each other and their clients. And I think we, yeah, I just think we did that. But yeah, I'd love to hear the feedback, and we'll just develop from there, and we want to do it together. So I hope we can create a great community with people who lift us up.
Awesome. That's a great way to end, I think, Gijs. You've said it very, very well, and I'm 100% behind the sentiments that you just expressed. And so to the entire community, peace, love, and life until the future editions, and we'll be revealing more about PsychFlex. And maybe the next time I'll even have a
Yeah,
T-shirt.
I have it.
Send me
Yeah,
one, Gijs. Like
yeah,
a
I'll send it.
T-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. To be continued.
To be continued.
Bye bye.